Welcome back to Bucklesberry Lemonade. We are your hosts, Lisa and Tim.
Thank you for joining us today for another story from deep within the archives of human experience. This is a case that truly highlights the enduring quest for justice.
Today, we're heading back in time to a small North Carolina town to unravel a mystery that began with a childhood argument and ended in unspeakable tragedy. We're talking about the shocking murder of 11-year-old Brenda Sue Brown.
It's a story spanning decades, involving missing evidence, a confession from the grave, and a community haunted by unanswered questions. So grab yourself a glass of lemonade and let's dive in.
The date is July 27th, 1966. The place is Shelby, North Carolina. Brenda Sue Brown, just 11 years old, was a typical kid. That morning, she had a minor squabble with her younger sisters over something as simple as a powder puff compact. A common sibling disagreement, completely innocuous.
And like so many summer mornings, Brenda Sue was asked to do a simple chore. Just walk her 6-year-old sister Patricia just 2 blocks to a Head Start class. It was a routine trip, a task, she'd likely done countless times before. But on this scorching July day, it would be the very last time Brenda Sue Brown was seen alive.
By 10:15 a.m., Brenda Sue's mother, Gladys Brown, began to feel that mother's intuition kick in. Something was wrong, and she started a desperate door-to-door search, driving through her neighborhood, stopping neighbors, and even passing motorists, asking if anyone had seen her daughter.
An hour later, as that dread intensified, a full search team was formed by members of the Shelby Rescue Squad. The clock was ticking, and the sun was climbing higher in the sky.
The search continued for hours. Then, at 6:45 p.m., the worst possible news arrived. Brenda Sue's nude body was found in a wooded area, heartbreakingly close to home, just 150 feet from South Lafayette Street, a main thoroughfare. Her small body was covered with freshly cut tree limbs, leaves, and brush. And in a chilling detail, the red and white dress she had been wearing was found folded neatly and placed atop the brush. A bloody rock lay nearby.
Authorities quickly determined that Brenda Sue had been brutally beaten to death with that rock. Her skull had been fractured in 12 places. Police reported that despite her body being nude, she had not been assaulted. And in a strange detail, they believed that the killer had to have been on foot because of the heavy traffic on South Lafayette Street. It would have made it nearly impossible for someone to get out of a car, force her into the woods, and not be seen.
At the time, law enforcement had several individuals they considered suspects. One was an unidentified bald white man who had allegedly exposed himself to Brenda Sue's sister just a few days earlier, but this man could not be found.
The other was a 13-year-old black boy named Robert Roseboro, who had a mental disability. Officer Harold Smith questioned Roseboro, and according to Officer Smith, Roseboro simply sat there, silent, refusing to answer any questions. This silence, coupled with the fact that Roseboro lived only a few hundred yards from where Brenda Sue's body had been found, made him highly suspicious in the eyes of the investigators.
However, the public was baffled as to why Roseboro was interrogated further. Rumors began to circulate, theorizing that perhaps Roseboro was being protected by a local crime syndicate. which was said to dominate the town of Shelby in the 60s. But police maintained the reason was simply a lack of evidence. Officer Smith stated, quote, "We just didn't have enough evidence on him. We had to let him go," end quote. Yet he and other investigators personally believed Roseboro was Brenda Sue's killer.
2 years later, on June 22nd, 1968, another horrifying crime shook Shelby. At 11:30 a.m., a woman and her daughter arrived at Mary's Cannon Towel Outlet, Mary Helen Williams's business, which was on Dixon Boulevard. They found the sign that said closed, but a glance through the window revealed a horrifying sight. A woman lying on the floor, covered in blood.
Shelby police were called, and as they arrived, Robert Roseboro, the same Robert Roseboro, he walked out of the business with his hands in the air. Inside, Mary Helen Williams was found nude, her body brutally beaten and stabbed multiple times with a pair of scissors. Just like Brenda Sue, the county coroner determined that Mrs. Williams, though nude, had not been sexually assaulted. Her dress and underwear were found neatly placed in the store's restroom.
Now, the 1960s in Shelby, well, that was marked by intense racial segregation. The rumors surrounded Roseboro, a black man accused of murdering a white woman. It quickly turned volatile. Threats from the Ku Klux Klan were so severe that Roseboro was secretly transferred to a jail in a nearby county for his own safety until the trial in 1969.
During the 2-day murder trial, a pathologist testified that blood found on Roseboro's clothes was type A, matching Mrs. Williams' blood type. Roseboro, however, vehemently denied killing her. He claimed police had lied about the investigation and that he had no motive, as there was no rape or robbery. He even drew maps of his whereabouts in the store when police arrived, attempting to explain how the blood might have gotten on his clothes.
Despite his defense, Robert Roseboro was found guilty in May 1969 of murdering Mary Helen Williams, and he was sentenced to death. This sentence was later reduced to life in prison, and because of the chilling similarities between the two cases, both victims, nude but not sexually assaulted, both brutally beaten, it became common local belief that Robert Roseboro was responsible for both Brenda Sue Brown and Mary Helen Williams' murder. When Brenda Sue's case was reopened decades later, detectives visited Roseboro in prison, but he refused to discuss her case.
Fast forward to 2005, 40 years after Brenda Sue's death. Her sisters, Patricia Buff and Mary McSwain, began a tireless campaign to get the Shelby Police Department to reopen the case. Initially, they were met with a heartbreaking revelation. The case files were missing.
Can you imagine that, Lisa?
No, not really. Or, of course, I can too, because it's some of the police back then.
Hmm. After 4 days of frantic searching through dusty storage files, the Brenda Sue Brown case files were finally located in an unmarked box. Ironically, right alongside the Mary Helen Williams murder case files. But the relief was short lived. Much of the crucial evidence was missing. Brenda Sue's dress, her undergarments, her shoes, the fateful powder puff compact, well, they were missing. Even the very rock that was used to kill her was not found. 2 vials of blood, fingernail scrapings, branches from the case, and the hair sample, all missing.
And according to police records, Sheriff Allen was the last person in possession of this evidence. Having retrieved it from the State Bureau of Investigation in Raleigh in August of 1966, the only physical evidence that remained was a single bloody palm print taken from Brenda Sue's shoe back in 1966.
With so much evidence gone, investigators took a dramatic step. On May 15, 2006, Brenda Sue's body was exhumed from the Spring Hill Church Road Cemetery in Lillington, North Carolina. They were hoping to find any usable evidence. Tragically, the wooden casket had disintegrated and only a few bones remained. A public memorial service was held just 6 days later, and Brenda Sue's remains were finally laid to rest in Sunset County Cemetery in Shelby, North Carolina.
The momentum for Brenda Sue's case truly began to shift in the spring of 2006. The Shelby Star newspaper ran a powerful 13-part series commemorating the 40th anniversary of her murder. And it was this series that brought forth a stunning new lead.
Shortly after the article ran, a woman named Lori Lau came forward to police. She claimed that her grandfather, Earl Mickey Parker, had told her just before his death on June 26, 2002, that he and a man named Thurman Price had killed Brenda Sue.
And on February 12, 2007, police acted on this new information. 79-year-old Thurman Price was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Price's home was located suspiciously close to where Brenda Sue's body had been found. However, it's unclear if he lived there in 1966. As county records indicate, he didn't purchase the house until 1973. And he was released on a $50,000 bond a few days later, denying any involvement.
The indictment revealed that Earl Mickey Parker had described the murder in chilling detail to his granddaughter. Authorities stated that his confession was consistent with the original crime scene evidence. Court records also showed that Lori Lau had called Brenda Sue's family on April 3, 2006, telling her sister that Thurman Price was indeed the killer. But she didn't mention her grandfather's involvement at the time.
With the new confession in hand, investigators once again turned to exhumation on May 12, 2007. Earl Mickey Parker's body was exhumed from Sunset Cemetery in Shelby. The hope was to compare his palm print to the bloody palm print found on Brenda Sue's shoe. Unfortunately, the results were inconclusive. His hands were too deteriorated to get a usable print.
How about that? Bless her heart. She's buried in the same cemetery that he was.
Oh my goodness, that's
The criminal histories of Parker and Price also painted a very disturbing picture. Back in 1954, Parker, then 26, Price, 25, had been indicted together for the assault of a 12-year-old girl named Shirley Morrison. That happened in Patterson Springs, North Carolina. In January 1955, both men pleaded guilty to assault to commit, which we can't say. They were given a 3 to 5 year suspended prison sentence, ordered to keep a job, abstain from alcohol, and pay court costs. This history certainly added a chilling context to Parker's deathbed confession.
And on February 9, 2010, Cleveland County Judge made a pivotal ruling. Earl Mickey Parker's deathbed confession and Lori Lau's testimony would be admitted as evidence at trial. Lau testified at the hearing that in June of 2002, her grandfather on his deathbed at Cleveland Regional Medical Center told her, quote, "I've done some bad things with my life, and before I can move on, I need to get them off my chest," end quote.
Gloria recalled her grandfather's chilling account. He had walked to a local bootlegger's house the night before where he met up with Price. They drank for several hours. Then the next morning, while walking home, they saw little Brenda Sue Brown near South Lafayette Street. They snuck up behind her, intending to commit SA.
SA.
Parker told Lyle that Price grabbed Brenda and dragged her into the back part of the road, and he recounted how, quote, "there was a little black boy playing in a field, and Price screamed at him, 'Go home.'" Well, this turned out to be Robert Roseboro.
And according to Parker's account, Brenda Sue fought hard and scratched Price, which enraged him. He then picked up a rock and struck her in the face. Parker told his granddaughter that Price then stated they had to kill her because, quote, "they would go away and do real time this time," a horrifying admission and a possible explanation for why the murder was so brutal and why she was left in that manner.
Thurman Price maintained his innocence until his death on August 4th, 2012. While still awaiting trial, Robert Roseboro, despite his deathbed confession and pointing fingers elsewhere, was also subpoenaed to the February 2010 hearing. His testimony lasted less than 10 minutes. He denied killing Brenda Sue, saying he didn't know who did it and claimed no memory of that day. He was quoted as saying, "You're talking about something 40 years ago. How would I recall something that long ago?" End of quote.
And so, the case of Brenda Sue Brown, with all its twists and turns, its lost evidence, and its conflicting accounts, it remains officially unsolved. Thurman Price died before he could be tried. Robert Roseboro was never charged, and Brenda Sue, who simply walked her sister to school one summer morning, never got the full justice her family has so tirelessly fought for.
It's cases like Brenda Sue's that truly highlights the challenges of cold cases, the erosion of evidence over time, and the complexities of human memory and confession.
And the incredible persistence of families like the Browns, who never gave up fighting for the answers for their loved one. Our thoughts are with Brenda Sue's family and all the families still searching for truth.
That's all for this episode of the Bucklesberry Lemonade Podcast. Thank you for listening.
We'll be back next time with another story to unpack. Until then, stay curious and remember to always pour yourself a little bit of that sweet, sweet lemonade.